Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning.
Good morning, Jenny. Good morning.
Well, I guess you've been in touch with LeBron on whatever island he's vacationing on. I guess it's, what, St. Kitts, St. Bart, St. James. He probably has his own island. St. James, right? Yep, that's what he's doing.
We're in that lab.
Are you?
We getting that 24 hours.
Practicing your free throws for once?
Yeah. We try to get healthy. You up here talking about some free throws.
In the lab. I like that. Interesting. Or vacationing. Okay, he's resting up, guys. He's hoping to get back as soon as possible. But here's the current situation. We have some Cowboys news to start the show with. The Cowboys have reportedly informed Aldon Smith that they would not be re-signing the pass rusher this offseason. The 31-year-old hadn't played in the NFL in the past 5 years before Dallas brought him in last season, and he had a notable impact on an otherwise struggling defense, finishing with 5 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, and a touchdown. So, Shannon, are you surprised the Cowboys aren't bringing back Smith?
I am a little surprised, Skip. I mean, I thought Aldon Smith played really well. If you think about it, Skip, you're talking about somebody that's been doing something their entire life. They get 5 years of completely away from it, and he comes back, and he plays at an extremely high level. There is no higher level than the NFL, Skip, and he had 5 sacks. So I am a little surprised considering how bad their defense is, and they haven't adequately addressed it in free agency. Now, maybe they're going to address this, Skip, in the draft, but it's hard for me with all the holes that they have that they can adequately repair those holes via just the draft. When you had an opportunity, that's why they have free agency first, and then they have the draft after free agency. But the Cowboys, for whatever reason, Skip, says, you know what, we're going to stand pat. When in actuality, Skip, they've signed a bunch of backups. When they need the starters need to be challenged for their jobs, and maybe some of the starters are actually backup. Skip, when you look at the high-dollar guys that's making money, DeMarcus Lawrence is making $21 million a year, and in 2 years, he has 11.5 sacks. Wolf Hunter, Vander Esch, has played 19 games in 2 years. Jalen Smith, since he's got that money, has not played well. Zeke got played, has not played well. Amari Cooper,
he's playing us. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, he playing you, Skip. He playing with he playing you. Amari Cooper makes $21 million. You can't tell me he gave you $21 million worth of production.
Did not.
So in other words, the big dollars that Jerry spent on these guys, they haven't come to fruition. They haven't played like they played to get that money, and therein lies the problem. But since we're just talking defensively, Skip, I'm surprised that Jerry has not addressed this more, because that's normally what he does. If there's a big dollar guy that Jerry feels, I guess he doesn't feel, because that's what you do in free agency. You feel holes that are needed. And I guess he doesn't feel. He feels that, you know what, I got Dan Quinn. He can coach these guys up, because everything that went wrong last year, because, Skip, that's what they did. Everything that happened last year, they placed at the feet of Mike Nolan.
They did.
So now he's been removed. They kept the exact same thing. Hell, if you didn't know better, that was Tampa. They won the Super Bowl and brought everybody back. Hold up. Did Cowboys win the Super Bowl? So why would they stand past, Skip? Why would they bring everybody back? And guys that I've never heard of, you heard of, you had to Google these guys and go deep. You had to go 4th and 5th level to find these guys.
The only one I'd ever heard of was Brent Urban, and barely. I couldn't even told you what team he was on last year. I just knew he used to be a Raven.
Well, you used to go like 2nd level, but you had to go 5th, 6th level to find out some of these guys and where they played from. So I am surprised, Skip. They blamed Rod Marinelli and Chris Richard. They got rid of those guys. They brought in Mike Nolan. They fired Mike Nolan, and they brought in Dan Quinn. Now, we're about to find out. Now, we've had 2 coaching staffs, and you've gotten basically the same production from the same guys that were there for 2 regimes. We're about to find out if it's the 3rd regime. Is it the coach, or is it what he's coaching?
Okay, I hear everything you just said. Now back to Jenny's question. Was I surprised? I must tell you, I was shocked by this. I didn't see this coming. They had been raving about Aldon Smith even as late as the Dak press conference when they announced he was going to make $164 million. Can he live up to $40 million a year? That's going to be the looming biggest question facing this team now. Because other than that, we are shopping in the bottom of the bargain basement bin. I thought Jerry was going to add 2 significant free agents, and to your point, most of Cowboy Nation has not even heard of anybody we have signed, including our latest signee. We got a curse. maybe it's a curse, C-U-R-S-E, but I'm thinking, is it Javon Curse? Remember Javon Curse from 1999?
I do remember. I played against the Freak,
right?
yes.
Well, we signed his nephew, and his name is Jaron Curse, and I don't know much about him because he was ranked 73rd among safeties in the league last year. 73rd?
Was at Minnesota. He was a box safety.
He was.
He went to Detroit, and he got in a little trouble off the field. And
seventh rounder out of Clemson. He's a big kid. He's 6'4", 215. But I thought he was more of a special teams ace. And then I looked up on Pro Football Focus. Where do you rank in special teams play? 556 they ranked him. So forget about that. Aldon Smith. What just happened? I kept telling you early in the year, revelation, godsend.
Yeah.
Did I not say that?
Yeah, you raved about it.
Maybe the greatest comeback story in the history of the National Football League. Out for all those years. Really hadn't splashed and flashed since his first 2 years. His rookie year, he had 16 sacks. His second year, he dominated pro football with 19 and a half sacks. He was first team all-pro. He was a force in this league. And then he had issues. Then he had alcohol issues off the field, all kinds. He fell down, finally hit bottom, said he was sleeping under his car just a couple of years ago. And thanks to our man, Jay Glazer, he got back in shape at Jay's gym. And here he came. And those first 4 games, especially that one at Seattle when he had 3 sacks, I said, thank you, God. Just fell out of the sky into our lap because he looked like not a Pro Bowl player, but a genuine, bona fide left defensive end that you could trust.
But Skip, after you watched the first month of the season, you could see why Jerry took a flyer on him.
Yep. Okay. Which brings me to the rest of the season. So statistically, more than 40% of his tackles and quarterback hits came in the first 3 games of the season. He managed only 1 sack over the last 3 months of the season. So he hit the proverbial wall.
He did.
And he's not that old. He's 31, but he couldn't get back in the rhythm of a 16-game season.
Correct.
He gave you all he had for about a month.
Yes.
And it was some month. He should have been the defensive player of the month. And then he began to fade. And to my eye, he began to lumber and plod. He started to look like he was playing more in slow motion to me. I didn't see any electricity from him. I didn't see any sudden from him after the first month.
Well, that normally happens, Skip, when someone is away from the game. That first initial, that first week, that first couple of weeks. But then you see that, okay, instead of trying to play him as many snaps, now you just make him a specialist, Skip. You give him 15, you give him 20. Say, son, all we need is 20 plays. But I need those plays to be explosive. They still kept trying to play him as many downs as they were playing him, and not now. Not that was too soon.
Okay, I got it. So in the end, Pro Football Focus ranked him among edge rushers 57th in the league. Well, I can't defend that. I can't say, yeah, we got to have him. We don't got to have him. And just for the record, here are the top 5 of edge rushers. Khalil Mack. T.J. Watt. Joey Bosa. Myles Garrett. And would you believe our man DeMarcus Lawrence ranked 5th overall in their grade. So he had a better year than I thought he did, according to Pro Football Focus. Did he come up big at the biggest times? Did he take over games the way I've seen him do it before in 2018?
That's a prime example of numbers not telling the complete story.
All right.
Now, you mentioned those guys.
Well, the complete story is $20 million a year.
Exactly. But do you think he had to impact those other guys that you mentioned before him?
Not to my eye. My eye test, he did not pass.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's my other problem with this defense. This defense gave up the 2nd most rush yards in the league, and it was close. They gave up 159 a game. The Texans gave up 160 a game. Think about this. That defense, featuring Aldon Smith, and for that matter, DeMarcus Lawrence as your bookend ends, gave up 307 rush yards at home to Cleveland. 307. Gave up 294 at the Ravens. That's almost 300. 261 on a Monday night at home to Arizona. And finally, maybe the most humiliating of all, was 208 at Washington. Remember Antonio Gibson just running through nobody? Like they were just all mannequins? Right? Okay, that's 4 games over 200 yards. Well, Aldon Smith's got to be somewhat responsible for that, right? And so does DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, I don't know where they were in those games, so how can I defend it? How can I say, we got to bring him back? As much as I was rooting for his story, I can't root for him to be a key cog in a defense that you could argue was the worst in the league.
Well, and another thing, Skip, the 2 Ps.